lovely quilt fort it is.
We thought the best possible way that we could tell you about our brand new class, A Guide to Quilting, would obviously be to build a quilt fort out of all of our quilts.
Yay! Some finished, some not finished, but that doesn't mean you'll have unfinished ones if you do the class.
So why don't you come inside and take a closer look? So hi, welcome to our quilt fort. As you can see,
Isn't it beautiful?
we have used, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quilts to build
Yes.
our fort.
And that wasn't all of them. There was
No.
many, many, many more.
Yes. So if you are in a position where you don't have any quilts at all, whether
No.
to build a quilt fort or just to use in the traditional sense of snuggling under in the winter, we've created a brand new class which is absolutely perfect for you.
It's our Guide to Quilting class, and it takes you through from the very beginning of even the most basic things like what tools you need, what fabrics you can choose, what colours go together, and we take you right the way through, showing you 4 different blocks and then showing you how to make it into a quilt and then how to actually quilt it.
Yes.
Start to finish.
Yes. And we're really proud of it. We went to a lot of effort, as always with our classes,
yeah.
a lot of research. We wanted to make sure we gave you lots of different options at all of the stages, because everyone's got their own way of doing things, but quilting in particular, I think, there's no right or wrong answers in a lot of cases. There's different methods to try.
There is.
And see what fits. So
Yes.
we've tried to cover lots and lots of them, but it's really designed for people who've either done no quilting at all,
Yes.
or have done a bit of quilting but want to kind of improve their techniques and learn how to do it properly.
Yeah.
Because if you're anything like me, my first quilt, which was many, many years ago, was, no one showed me.
No.
I just thought, how hard can it be?
Let's just
And,
make it up as we go along. It's fine.
Yeah, I wish I still had it now, because I think it would probably be quite amusing to see how wonky and twisted everything was. But
well, my first quilt I actually found the other day. I was doing some clearing out and I found it. And the quilt itself, the patchwork itself is fine. It's just squares. But I've actually bound it, instead of using bias binding, I use grosgrain ribbon.
obviously.
And you can imagine what a dog's dinner that looks, because there's always a good place to start, and you can get so far.
Definitely.
And I think a lot of the time, a lot of people might get part of the patchwork done, or might even get all of the patchwork done, but they kind of get stuck at some point. Quilting is usually such a long progress.
Yes.
Quilting is usually such a long process.
Yes, we know what you meant.
Yes, that it's just you can get you can stumble at various different points and maybe not ever get finished. So it's ideal for those of you who have done a bit but never actually finished one.
Exactly, but we've tried to keep it fun, and we've tried to keep it light-hearted and take the stress out of it a little bit.
Yes.
There are some very serious quilters out there, and we are not saying this to offend anybody who likes to do everything 100% perfect.
No.
But we personally think that there, especially with quilting, there's a real freedom in just being able to express your creativity and not worry too much about the technical side, which will develop the more you do it. If you start your first quilt thinking this needs to be completely perfect, I want it to be shown at the quilt show or go in a museum,
That's not going to happen.
then well, it's not going to happen, but you're giving yourself a really stressful time.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't need to be. And the whole concept behind doing this class now was because we've been craving a lot more, well, we've not been needing to make like fancy clothes or anything like that. Our wardrobes have got very comfy, as you can see. We'll talk about these in a minute. But we've been craving that kind of mindful, calm sewing.
Yes.
There's something about the repetitive nature of quilting, where you're doing often the same thing over and over.
There's no fit to worry about. There's no curved seams. There's no, it's all straight line stitching.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the greatest thing, is that actually you're just doing a 1/4 inch seam all the time, and they're all straight lines.
Yes.
So how difficult can it be? And usually they're very short lines. Sometimes you do very long ones, and they can be equally as lovely to do.
Yeah.
Those great big lines of bias binding or
Yeah,
of
of
sashing
quilting.
that you can do, and it is, you know, there's something for everyone, I think, with
There
quilting.
is, yeah. So we hope that this is the kind of thing that you're also craving at the moment. But all we know is that quilts are really beautiful. They're a work of art that you get to snuggle under. I mean, what can possibly be better than that?
And using up your scraps. You know, my favourite type of quilting, of every kind of quilting, is scrap quilting.
Yeah.
There is nothing I love better than turning a box of stuff I'm slightly annoyed about into something which I love. And the whole process, whether that takes me a month to do it or whether it takes me a year to do it, I've enjoyed the process right the way through. And the vast majority of my quilts usually start with scrap.
Yes.
So it is a really good way of recycling all of your old projects. And you used to love coming across, whenever I was doing a new scrap, when you'd come across and you'd go, oh, that's a bit of my dress, and that's a bit of my cushion cover. And you know, you kind of have all these memories.
I was doing that
in
whilst
them.
we were building the fort. I was going, oh, I recognise that one. So yeah, it's a sentimental thing. It can be a sentimental thing if you do it for that reason.
Yeah.
But it's also sentimental in the sense that as soon as you see a family member, whether that's your kids or your partner or your mum or grandparents or whatever, as soon as you see somebody who's really enjoying the quilt that you made them snuggled up under
genuinely, that's the thing.
It does.
It's so special.
Yeah, it really, really. And I know that we, for a lot of us dressmakers, we'd maybe like to do more selfless sewing, but it's kind of like what? Because fitting makes clothes a whole different issue, doesn't it?
If you're doing it for someone else.
So yeah, it's fine if you know somebody's a standard size, and you can just kind of pick a size and make it for them. But even then, sewing pattern sizes are so different to high street sizes
taste and style and stuff like that. You've got all of that to take into consideration.
And when you make something for someone, maybe the fit's not, or the cut is not quite their style, or you chose a fabric that they wouldn't necessarily have chosen, or they chose the fabric, but then when it actually came to wearing it, they didn't feel like it suited them because they didn't get to try it on first. Whereas you don't have any of that with making quilting. A beautiful quilt for someone.
And there is something about making them for someone else. It is a real gift, and it's an heirloom. That's the way that I look at them. And I have gifted quite a few quilts in my time. My sister's had a couple, my dad's had one, you've had one, but my favourite one was when I gave it to my auntie, and she's my godmother, and she is quite elderly now, and I just sent this quilt up to her. I had a spare one that I was finishing, and I didn't have any particular reason for it, and she was going through a bit of a tough time, and I sent her this quilt, and you know, she showed it to everyone who came into her house for 6 months,
including the postman,
the DPS drivers, anyone who was coming to check the electricity meter. They all got shown this quilt, and that's something you can't get with clothes, I think. Sometimes you know, and it's something that I think some people just have no concept about how you could make something like that. But it is a simple thing to do. It just takes a bit more time.
I think that even somebody who isn't a sewer can see the amount of work that's involved. And you know, when I say that a lot of work, we don't mean that it's necessarily like a huge time-consuming task. I mean, obviously, doing a quilt from start to finish is a very time-consuming project. We won't lie to you on that. It takes a very long time to create a full-size quilt from start to finish. However, there are lots and lots of little stages during that process
that you can do.
And if you just see it as one step at a time, which is exactly how the class has been filmed, then it actually flies by without you really realising it. If somebody said to you, right, you're going to make a quilt and it's going to take you at least 20 hours, possibly up to 50 hours, depending on how complex the design, you would think, I haven't got time for that. But if you think, I'm going to sit down for 20 minutes and I'm going to make a block, and I'm going to be really proud of how lovely the colours go together and the patterns go together, and that's all I'm going to focus on for now.
Absolutely.
And then the next day you might make another one, and over the course of time you'll build a quilt, and it's a fascinating process, but a really enjoyable slow sew.
Absolutely. But you can batch it as well. That's nothing we like better than batch sewing, isn't it? So you can get all your cutting done at the same time, you can have everything ready, and there's nothing I like more than having a box or some kind of crate or something with everything in it ready for sewing. So I've got all my blocks all ready to go. So if I've even got 10 minutes, I could sew half of a block or a whole block, depending upon how complex it was. So it just shows that if you can kind of do all of those things, you're doing the same thing all the time, it can come together quickly.
Yes,
and the blocks that we've shown you are quick ones as well. They're not anything too complex, they're not anything too tricky, but they do go in stages, so they do push you a little towards the end, making them a little bit more trickier because you need to have a learning process as well.
Absolutely. So obviously we are two women in their mid to late 40s sat inside a quilt fort, excitedly yapping on about quilting. But here's a couple more slightly more professional ladies who can tell you in a much more informative way what the class is all about. Hi, and welcome to our brand new guide to quilting.
For me, quilting is my first love with sewing. I knew from the very first quilt that there would be many, many more.
For me, quilting was not my kind of sewing. I thought it was for other people, until I tried it and then everything changed.
Nothing makes me more happy than coming downstairs in the morning to find both my kids snuggled under my handmade quilts.
And I love the endless possibilities you can create when combining and playing around with different patterns, colours and shapes.
If you're a dressmaker looking for a new, creative and colourful way to express yourself,
or perhaps you're a lover of homewares and interior design and you want to create custom quilts to match the decor in every room.
Maybe you're a bit of a perfectionist and think you might enjoy the structured nature of quilting.
Or maybe you've tried a bit of quilting but never finished one, or you want to improve your techniques.
If any of those sound like you, then we can't wait to share this highly addictive form of sewing with you.
Unlike clothes that come in and out of fashion, quilts are like works of art that, if well made, can last for generations, and they don't even have to fit your body.
Unless you want them to.
In this class, we're going to walk you through every stage of creating a quilt, from collating the tools you'll need to choosing your fabrics and matching your colours and patterns.
We'll be trying a variety of patchwork techniques, helping you select your wadding and backing fabric before showing you how to quilt all the layers together and finish everything off beautifully with handmade binding.
At every stage we'll include multiple options so that you can try different techniques and see which option is best for you.
So if you're ready to get your creative juices flowing and you're already imagining the beautiful quilts you're going to make, then we think this is the perfect class for you.
I didn't realise that she was supposed to take it off.
No.
Oh, sorry, they're back. Hi. We're still here in the quilt fort.
In the quilt fort.
So in other news,
yes,
we wanted to tell you about the sweatshirts and tracksuit bottoms that we are currently wearing.
Fancy pictures in a quilt fort is not exactly practical.
We were thinking about videos to make for you guys for this autumn and winter, and as you know, this would be the time of year we would have already filmed our autumn winter trends videos, and we had every intention of doing that.
Yeah.
However, we've taken a slightly different view on it recently, and we've just realised that the thing we love about doing that series is how excited we are.
Yeah.
It's all about our passion for fashion.
We like going to the shops and we like to see what's in the shops and we like to get excited about it. But it's different this year.
It is.
It really
it's hard
is.
to get excited about fashion that you know you're not going to wear.
Yeah.
And the reality is that we have been living in sweatshirts and anything with an elasticated waist.
Yep.
So we thought if we were to go ahead and film the trends videos, it might be lacking our normal kind of enthusiasm. It might, bless you.
Sorry, I'm trying to hold it back.
It might be lacking a bit of passion.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do that. We thought that might be a bit disingenuous. So instead, we've decided to create for you some DIYs that you can create yourself. So the sweatshirt, the oversized sweatshirt that we're now wearing, and our track pants, we have designed some tutorials that you can create from scratch no pattern. This is something we've done before, where you start with a rectangle. You can either draft it directly onto the fabric, or you can create a pattern piece using the instructions. So we're going to be bringing those to you within the next month or so, and that is something that you can do to add to your autumn winter wardrobe without worrying too much about the trends. Now, we hope that you guys aren't too disappointed, because I know that series is usually very popular, but the Fold line have still done a Sew the Trends.
They have.
Video this season, so please go and check that out. There are lots of other ones up there, and we do love doing them, and we hope to bring you them again in the future. Hopefully by spring summertime, we'll be feeling a bit more excited about it and ready to film those again for you. But
it's just been a weird year, as you all know, so we're just finding it difficult to get enthusiastic about them, because we're just, I don't even know if we're going to be able to leave the house in a few months' time, never mind what we're going to be wearing. It's just a very difficult stage.
Well, for us in particular, we leave the house to take the kids to school, to go to the supermarket, and to go down to the studio. That's pretty much it for us. So, realistically, we don't need fabulous outfits for that.
We need sweatshirts.
We just need to be comfortable, and I'm sure you guys are feeling the same way. So hopefully you will enjoy our DIYs instead. If we think of any other trend-related or comfort-related videos, then we might come up with our kind of lockdown capsule wardrobe
for
or
winter.
Something like that.
Well, we did a summer one, didn't we? So we may well do a winter one, kind of more comfy, warm, snuggly clothes.
Yes, exactly.
So as the quilting class will be the last one this year, you should really go and check it out. We honestly think it is a really good class. Nearly 5 hours of quilting loveliness, holding your hand through each step. So even if you didn't think quilting was for you, I think it is a great time to kind of investigate it. So go and check it out, go and have a look at the preview, go and read everything we've put about it.
It doesn't hurt to click on the link and take a little look. We'd really appreciate it if you did. That would mean a lot to us.
Absolutely. So look after yourselves, and we will see you soon with another video.
Bye.